back to Poetry and Police. The whole story about how Vybz Kartel has been fighting for his freedom for years after he was convicted for murder. Now, as it is right now, the Vybz Kartel's fans in Jamaica, and I would say worldwide, have been pre-celebrating the release of Vybz Kartel. The recent decision by the Privy Council, it was alleged that the jury in the Vybz Kartel case was corrupted, and as a result of that the matter is being sent back to the courts in Jamaica. And as a result of this, the Vybz Kartel fans, amongst his attorneys, have been pre-celebrating the release of Vybz Kartel. But any learned person, whether a police officer or even attorney, will know that this does not mean, this decision by the Privy Council does not mean that Vybz Kartel will be set free. It simply means that the decision now rests on the courts in Jamaica to either release Vybz Kartel if they see it fit, or they can do a retrial. So the celebration should have not started yet, because the system, the judicial system in Jamaica, has convicted Vybz Kartel for murder already, and they can convict him again. Because if you have observed in the case, there is no new evidence on the part of Vybz Kartel. No evidence was accepted on the part of Vybz Kartel's attorneys that could push the conviction in a different direction if it is the same evidence that we are dealing with. Now, in recent times, there were discussions about new evidence the application was sent in for new evidence to be admissible in Vybz Kartel case in relation to the phone and text messages, etc. But those evidence were suppressed and they were not accepted, as explained to Muta Baruka by our own Paula Llewellyn. And as it relates to Paula Llewellyn, I believe that Paula Llewellyn is doing a great job representing the Jamaican people for the DPP. And as far as I'm concerned, I have not seen any form of corruption as relates to her carrying out her duties as the director of public prosecution. I believe that the Vybz Kartel fans are celebrating too fast, because we can have what is called a retrial, which can take years without bail. So, what I would say to the Vybz Kartel defense team and his fans is to keep quiet. I guess maybe you can get the best result by keeping quiet and not cause the relevant authorities to carry out another trial, because the case can be retried. As it is right now, the Vybz Kartel's murder case can be retried, and Vybz Kartel can be convicted again. As a matter of fact, 90% out of 100 will be convicted again if the same evidence is presented. And all they had said before, like some people are blaming the DPP and the police department by saying that if it was learned that the jury was corrupted, or certain corruption has reached to the jury in question, then the director of public prosecution or the judge himself should have changed the jury, simply put. But I believe that that's one of the biggest mistakes that the prosecution made, was not changing the jury. Why would you continue with a jury that was deemed to be corrupted? Why would you continue with a jury that was not beyond reproach? Get me I say? So simply put, The mistake on the part of the director of public prosecution is that they should have never continued with that jury, even if even if the defense agreed, the jury should have been changed. So that you see, that mistake that they have made came back to bite them in the end, because as the matter was thrown back to Jamaica for a retrial, it was as a result of corrupted jury or possible corrupted jurors in the Vybz Kartel case. So simply put, if the Vybz Kartel case is retried with fresh jury, then I believe that a conviction can be held up and Vybz Kartel can end up, well, he's already in prison, and Vybz Kartel can end up serving his time as was dealt with before, or serving his conviction as he was convicted before and not released. Because you will have to understand that the matter can be retried. And if he's convicted this time again, then there is no more room for appeals. So this is the last hurrah for Vybz Kartel and his and his panel of attorneys. So they will now have to start their jobs. They will start their work. The work has just begun with them, and also the DPP. The DPP has to make sure that the jury is beyond reproach this time around, and this trial is probably be more a private trial, and get the media out of the trial. There is too much media in the trials. That is what one of the things that the DPP needs to try and avoid. Too much media attention, and this is what is causing problem in most cases, because everything is over the news and everything is online before the cases are even tried. Evidence are being exposed online and all these things. So these are one of the things that the DPP has to try and avoid as much as possible. But I will say this to the Director of Public Prosecution and the police officers who are involved in the Vybz Kartel's case: fear not, because he can be convicted again. And I know that Paula Lewin will work as hard as possible, as honest and as hard as possible, both for and against, to ensure that justice is served at the end. Because we have to remember that even though the victim in this case was unscrupulous, or was not a person of any good character, you know, the law still says that a man is innocent until proven guilty. The law still says that you should treat everybody according to the law, and you should not base off a man's character, treat him any other way. Well, a murder is a murder. That is the thing. A murder is a murder. It doesn't really matter who the victim of the murder was. A murder is always a murder. And then we have to proceed, and we have to let ourselves to believe that a murder is a murder, and it doesn't matter who was murdered, a murder was committed. And anybody who's found responsible for that murder should be sent to prison according to the law. So Vybz Kartel is no different. Lizard, the victim, is no different. He's a victim of a murder, so justice should be served. He don't care who he was. That's all I am saying about the whole situation. So this is not the time for Vybz Kartel's panel of attorneys to celebrate, but this is the time for them to put down their foot and start doing some work and try to prove Vybz Kartel innocence. And the Director of Public Prosecution, on the other hand, now has to prove their case that yes, indeed, this man was guilty of the murder by representing the evidence all over again, which is supposed to be easy because it's the same evidence. Just hope that witnesses in the case will come forward, or the witnesses in the case can be found. That's the next thing about the Vybz Kartel case. Witnesses might disappear, and if we have no witness for the prosecution this time around, then guess what? The prosecution supper. So all the witnesses have to be found, and all the witnesses has to come forward again. And remember, a whole lot of time has passed, and people's mind change. People can be paid off during that time for not coming forward to give evidence, and the whole thing has to come. But I don't know if that phone evidence that or whatever investigation was carried out by the defense in relation to the phones and the text messages that were used in the case, and they had made an application for those to be admissible. Now that there's a retrial, those evidence might be admissible in court. Might. Because it's a new trial all over again. So I guess it is the right of the defense to bring forth every witness possible and all evidence possible. So I think that is going to be a harder task around for the prosecution, because if the defense has new evidence as it relates to the phone, and they were saying there was some corruption when the phones are concerned and the text messages are concerned, and if the defense can prove that, then the prosecution have a harder task ahead of them. So what we have to think about in Jamaica now is that, one, justice should be served no matter the victim and no matter the perpetrator. Understand? It don't matter the perpetrator. Justice is justice. A crime is a crime. And it doesn't matter who commits the crime. It should be dealt with according to law. And the victims should get justice according to law. So, let's see what the retrial holds. Well, if there's a retrial, I don't see no reason why the Director of Public Prosecution would not take the route of a retrial.